Welcome to the channel. I'm Tony the Technician, and today we're going to be going back into my 23 Colorado and we're going to be installing the Icon rear shocks. So if you guys haven't checked out the channel, I have a lot of content on upgrading the Colorado. For the most part, basically anything that you can get for the truck I've done except for the exhaust, and we'll have that coming soon. But I've done an add-a leaf, rear shackles, lift kit, bed slide, molly panels, installing an inverter in the bed of the truck, bed rack, interior, fog lights, ditch lights. I mean, a good amount of stuff. So if you guys are thinking about doing any of those to your 23 Colorado, I have a video on it. But today we're going to be installing the newly released Icon rear shocks. So I've been waiting for a company to release them. You could install the older generation Colorado shocks or Silverado shocks, but with the lift kit and this being a Trail Boss, all of those weren't going to help. They might have helped in ride quality, but the length wasn't going to benefit me whatsoever. I was going to end up losing travel, so there was no sense in that. And Icon finally released quite a few different sets. What we have here isn't their most expensive, but it is quite expensive. Icon stuff is not cheap, but they make some really good stuff. This is the 10-way adjustable, so you can adjust how soft or harsh the shock reacts on the compression stroke of the shock. So basically, by adjusting this knob, you have 1 through 10, it's going to basically open or close this orifice in the shock that is going to allow fluid to bypass, allowing the shock to either compress harder or easier. It just adjusts the flow rate through that orifice. And there's nothing on the rebound like my coilovers, but this is still going to hugely improve the ride quality. So I have, like I stated, a bed slide, a bed rack, a rooftop tent, awning, a lot of stuff. I'm constantly carrying about 600 pounds in the back of my truck, and when I have it fully loaded down and I'm like going down the highway, if I hit concrete and the cracks in the concrete, the back end of the truck will just bounce. And then if I'm going off-roading, it's going to be nice to have this 10-way adjustable, so if I'm just highway traveling, I can adjust it to a little bit stiffer suspension so it handles the weight in the back of the truck better. And then like if you're going to go rock climbing or anything like that, you can really soften up the shocks. So they do have a non-adjustable version of this, and so we're going to be installing these. I'll just give you a quick close look up of these, kind of share some specs with you guys. I'll probably post up some pictures on the screen so you guys can get some details on that. I'll also have the Icon website linked down below, but let's go ahead and get these things installed. Shouldn't take too long. There is a little bit of modification necessary for the passenger side, but it shouldn't be too bad. So let's get these installed. So here we're looking at the Icon 2.5 cdcv shocks, the 10-way adjustables. They are 7/8 inch hardened chrome plated shafts, so a pretty decent upgrade there. You got some billet aluminum ends here. Then you have a 6061 billet aluminum manifold here that is placed a couple inches from the top to allow for 20% more damping. When you go to compress this all the way, it gives it a little bit better control when the shock is compressed quickly. And then you have your remote reservoir, and just overall really, really nice build quality. And then on the ends, you can see the spacers are different. This is going to allow you to mount the shocks to where it is further away from the frame on the truck. So you have to make sure that the bigger spacer is placed on the frame side to get it away from the frame. And for the driver's side, it should just be as simple as unbolting and bolting it in. The passenger side, the way the mount is built and with the size of these shocks over the factory ones, you do have to remove some material. I'll go ahead and show you guys that here in a minute. But I'm gonna get out one of the shocks and just show you a comparison. So let's go ahead and get these things installed. If you guys have any questions on these, please feel free to drop a comment down below. Hopefully I've posted up some pictures of some of the information that Icon shares about these, and also the website's down there just in case you guys are interested. So here we are on the passenger side looking at the back of the truck. So your shock assembly is going to be on the front on the passenger side, and then located on the rear of the rear end on the driver's side. So you'll just be removing this 21 millimeter, and then I won't really be able to show you guys because I don't have a tripod that'll sit over here out of the way and this low, but that one as well. And then the shock assembly will come out on the passenger side. This bracket is what we're going to have to trim away in order to make clearance for the new shock housing. So I'll show that to you guys once we get this out. So here we have the factory shock for the Trail Boss. Here is the part number and everything. Made in the USA. Now these compressed are around 15.5 from eyelet to eyelet, and fully extended is 25. These are 16 and 26, the difference there. So basically I'm thinking why there needs to be some trimming around the bracket up top is because of this upper housing. It may make contact with it, so I'm going to go out and just put it up there to see where it makes contact and exactly how much you need to remove. They do send you some information in order to download the instructions, or you can just get it off of the website when you select the ones that you're going to purchase, and it has the instructions in there and like kind of how much to remove. It's not too much. I think the biggest issue is going to be getting the tool up there to actually trim it away more than anything. So I'm going to go ahead and take these out and test fit it on the passenger side. So I'm going to show you what I used in order to get this kind of sanded or grinded away, and then I'll show you what it looks like or how much I had to remove. I'll also have a picture up in here of kind of how much you need to remove. So I started off with this, and this, if you go this route with the roll lock discs, you're going to be there all day. Tried the rotary tool with the sanding rolls, a little bit faster. You're still going to be there about half a day. The 3-inch cutoff tool, I couldn't use my full-on angle grinder just because it was too big and awkward, and there's a wiring harness up in there that you need to be careful of not hitting. So this actually made it go by really quickly. And then if you have any of these bits, they can be quite expensive but are extremely handy, and that also works really well. But if you have a smaller drill, something more compact, it might work a little bit better. I could only get so much removed with that just because the drill was in there at a super awkward angle. So this and this were my primary go-tos, and then to kind of clean it up at the end, I just kind of hit it with the sander. So just whatever tools you have accessible, whatever you have in order to get this job done, will depend on how long it actually takes you. With these, it might take you 10-15 minutes. With these, it could be a long process. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. I don't have the shock installed because I wanted to show you guys what it looked like. So basically, right underneath where the bolt passes through, you need to go down a little bit and then straight back and over. And that basically, so this portion of the shock doesn't make contact with the mount. And then keep in mind that you got to have your spacer, the larger one, on the outside of the truck or the frame side of the truck. And then I took away a little bit of material on the other side, but I don't think it's actually necessary. I think the other side is clear. It's a little bit different shape than other sides, so it does fit in there now. Now we can just simply put the shock in. So this is obviously the top. This is going to be facing forward towards the muffler. So I'll get it up there and show you guys what it looks like. So the shock is installed on the top mount, and it's not torqued down. These do need torque to 110 foot-pounds, both top and bottom. But there it is installed, and it will sit like this. So there you can see the clearance. Without it, then the shock would hit that portion of the mount. So should work just fine. You may need a jack in order to lift this shock, depending on how stiff it is. As far as adjustments, like I said, the S is going to be the lowest or the softest, and then 10 is going to be, or the H is going to be the hardest or harshest. So that's whatever the icon symbol is pointing at is the level. 4 is supposed to be kind of how they have their non-tunable shocks. That's roughly the equivalent of those. So I went with a 5 to just be kind of over or a little bit stiffer with the rear end to help with the heavy weight. If I have to, I'll try and bump it up to 6 or 7, just kind of see and play with it, how it feels. But once it's up there, it is kind of hard to get to, or see. So just be aware of that, at least on the passenger side with everything around it. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and set this one to 5 before I get it in there, so it matches the other side. And we'll go ahead and get the driver's side in. I just used my jack to compress the shock, And it is installed. Now, one thing you might want to take into consideration before you install the shock is you might want to spray paint your upper mount to prevent it from rusting or anything. And then that, it's just easy as those 2 bolts. And then once again, make sure to torque your fasteners to 110 foot-pounds. Now, that was the more difficult side. The easy side is the driver's side, where you just remove and install. So here we're at the back of the truck looking towards the front. The driver's side is on the back side of the rear end, so you'll remove the lower fastener, and then looking straight up, you will see the mount. And as to why you don't need to grind this one, it's a top mount, so there really isn't anything on the sides or the bottom. You can just go ahead and remove that, drop your shock out, and grab your new shock. Remember, the wider spacer towards the frame. Alright, so there it is. The Icon 10-way adjustable shocks are installed. Here you can see the passenger side, the side that you have to grind down the top mount. Now, one thing you want to make sure when you're doing this is that you're on level ground, and either chock the wheels, set your parking brake. And the only thing you'll need is a 21mm ratchet, whatever you're going to use to grind down that upper mount, and then the jack to lift the shocks. Unless you're going to lift the truck and lower the rear end, you can do it that way as well. Here's the driver's side, which was a quick 5-minute install for this side, and depending on the tool that you have for the other side, 15-30 minutes for that. So not bad whatsoever. And the truck is nice and level now that I have the CCE drop shackle, the add a leaf, the rear shocks. If you guys have any questions, please let me know down in the comments. Other than that, check out Icon, which will be linked down in the description if you guys are interested. Once again, they have a lot of different suspension kits available for these trucks now. If you guys enjoyed, please make sure to smash that thumbs up. Leave a comment down below of your guys' thoughts. I will also have a video coming testing out these shocks. I'll also have some future videos doing a little bit of overlanding and going camping once it warms up a little bit more. So stay tuned for those videos, and I'll keep you guys updated on how these shocks perform and kind of where I prefer them depending on what I'm doing. And if you guys haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.